Live from the Findlay Toyota Studios, it's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, here we go. Cofield and Company on a Thursday, the debut of the 2026 Dan Mullen Radio Show. So we are on the scene this week at Sierra Gold, South Jones and 215. Jeff Parles is here. It is Cofield. Mateo's helping out. Coming up, Caleb Herring, Matt Neverett, and the coach, Dan Mullen. That'll be at 4 o'clock. That'll run from 4 to 5. So come on down. Happy hour starts at 5. Lots of cool specials and PTs and Sierra Gold. Very big backers of UNLV football and UNLV athletics. So we are fired up to be here and excited to hear. Tonight is the night where Dan Mullen will reveal his starting quarterback. I think Caleb, there's a trust factor, Jeff. There's a trust factor. 2 former college football players. I think Dan will finally give up the information.
It'll still be Memphis. It'll still be Charles Huff to the window on that one.
I was kidding. I was being sarcastic. He's not going to say who it is. Neither one is.
Whoever gets the ball first wins that one, right?
Yeah, it's a weird deal. I mean, I did interviews in Memphis, and they were like, would you bet on who the starter is? I'm like, well, actually, no, because for UNLV, it could be 50-50 because they could roll out a run play, a downhill run play for Orgy. They could run a trick play. They ran a play last year where one quarterback was split out, the other was under center. So the thing that matters is obviously who's going to take the most snaps, and we'll see how that works out. But we'll get to UNLV football here in about a half an hour. Scott Seidenberg is going to join us as he's going to be with us on Thursday, a little earlier now at 3:15 to go through Week 0 betting and some final NFL futures and Week 3 stuff going on around the preseason in the NFL. All right, Raiders play right down the road. So we're just up the road from the Al, and the Niners are in town. What do you expect to see? And Kubi's another one of those guys, Kubiak, who kind of keeps it close to the vest, doesn't want to say who's going to play, who's not going to play. This is a very big game for obviously anyone who is trying to make the Raiders or trying to make the league.
That's the only thing that comes out of these third preseason games for the most part, right, Cofield? Where it's basically you're looking at who can make the roster, and if you don't make the roster you're currently on, can you have enough good tape out there that someone else wants you, right? That's pretty much the only thing that comes out of this third preseason game. You know, very curious to see how much we see Fernando.
I just think it's funny, the energy level around the third preseason game. We used to have 5. They cut it down. We finally got to 3, and people are still like, too many.
Well,
for the players, they do. The guys who are trying to make the roster, and usually that's somewhere between, it could be 8 to 25 guys, because I would assume most teams are, have a solid 45 to 47 they know about. There's going to be the regular roster, and then there's going to be the practice roster, which is very important to make as well, because it keeps your foot in the league. And they actually make pretty decent money. They don't make college football money, as we're finding out. But it is key. If you're trying to get in the league, you have no more college eligibility left. This is a big one.
And that's, again, like you just said, it was the 4th preseason game in the past that it was kind of the throwaway game. This is the other thing, too. Every team's strategy is different with this. Now, I'm curious to see how much we see of the quarterback, what we see quarterback position-wise for them. It could also really see as well, Aiden O'Connell could be playing for a roster spot tonight, right? Like, to make sure if they want to keep a third quarterback, he could be playing for that third spot. I think they should keep 3 quarterbacks. I think it'd be kind of silly if they didn't.
Oh, we've had the discussion for 10 days now that Aiden O'Connell to start the season should be the number 2.
Very possibly.
So they should absolutely keep 3, and I don't think Aiden O'Connell would fetch anything on the trade market, but he is valuable. Just because he can't get a 6th or 7th for a backup quarterback, he is valuable. And I'll repeat what I've been saying. With Cousins, we don't know how long he's going to last in terms of mobility and the injury possibility. I think he needs to last 8, 9, 10 games because that's when you can turn things over to Fernando. But in the meantime, I would still approve of AOC playing ahead of Mendoza if Kirk went down in the first couple of weeks.
I would be surprised if that happened, but you couldn't. Again, there is an argument for that since we've seen O'Connell play in this league. And, again, we've talked about it with Fernando not rushing him to the table like some people want to. And we're not, again, Cousins is going to be the week 1 starter. And, again, that Miami game, right out of the chute, you get a team that, if you're going to want to feel good about yourselves, that you should be able to beat at home. So, again, we'll see. And I'm curious as well with what happened on Sunday with Ashton Genty, where it went from seemingly that he may have it could have been a season-ending injury to now it's all the way down to a potential just a low ankle sprain. I'm curious to see how Kubiak uses his running backs tonight. That's another thing as well.
What do you think?
I mean,
Mike Washington's not playing.
I would not play Mike Washington.
He might be the bell cow for the first couple weeks of the season.
I think it would be pretty wild to play Mike Washington because of that reason. We're not certain how injured Ashton Genty is, right? We're really not certain of that. So why would you put anyone who could potentially be your guy? And Washington's clearly the number 2 back. There's no arguing that at this point. He should not be. He should be wearing his jersey with no pads on underneath it tonight. That would be the way I would do it. And then, look, whatever else you want to do, go for it tonight. Especially, again, I think the biggest question mark, and this goes back to what we talked about leading up to the second preseason game as well, Cofield, getting those young defensive backs out there as often as humanly possible is still a good thing for this team. Even if they're going to play a lot early in the year, just get them as many reps as humanly possible. That's probably the one position group, if you're going to see guys, that would be the one group that I would be okay with the defensive backfield.
Receiving group, including the tight ends, Bauer, Mayer, Tucker, Naylor, don't play. Everyone else probably needs to play. I like what Kubiak said after the last game where he's like, hey, for the number 2 receiver spot, we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And, of course, Raiders fans, some of them in Raider Nation start flipping out, immediately want to turn to go and sign, a 30-plus-year-old receiver. This is going to be a process. And when a coach does that after a preseason game, lays into a position group, there's a purpose there. It's not to say, hey, we're going to go sign somebody. It's, hey, one of you guys has to step up here. Multiple guys have to step up and start getting better. Because they have, by design, Jeff, picked this receiver group and made it very, very young. Like, they didn't go out and get veteran receivers. So guys got to step up. Otherwise, they are not going to have many weapons beyond Bowers and Naylor and Tucker. And they need some of the young receivers, first, second, third-year guys, to get it going.
There's no need to bring in a veteran wide receiver. There's no need. Again, obviously, we talked about Keenan Allen a few weeks ago. He's in Indianapolis now. But there's no need. There's no need. I go back to what I've said with this team going into the year the whole way through. If they go 4-13 and show improvement from what they, I guess it would be an improvement on a win or loss, but you could be, with the way their schedule is, they could go 4-13, 5-12, and it'd feel a heck of a lot better, and you could feel pretty darn good about this team as we're going into 2027 with a 4-13, 5-12 record. That is actually possible, as ridiculous as they may sound on the surface to some out there listening. But you want to get your young guys as many reps as possible. By the end of the year, you want to feel confident that one of these young guys is clearly either your number 2 or number 3 wide receiver going into next year. And look, and I don't want to see Fernando until November, but you probably should see him a little bit once we at least get towards that late bye week for this team.
5 o'clock kickoff with the Raiders down at the Owl. This is a great spot. We are at Sierra Gold, 215 South Jones. You can watch the game here. Before that, though, at 4 o'clock is going to be the Dan Mullen Radio Show. And, of course, happy hours, everyone knows that PT starts up at 5, goes 5 to 7, half price on all the beers. And then they've got specials on Miller Lite, Coors Light, $4 on the pints, Leinenkugel's $5, Sky Vodka, all flavors, just $5. And they've got a double cheeseburger, brioche bun. Big fan of the brioche. Just $6. So that's one of the great food items on happy hour here at Sierra Gold. But the Dan Mullen Radio Show is coming up at 4 o'clock. Stick around right here on ESPN Las Vegas.
Now back to Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, just getting started here on this Thursday. We got Raider football over on Raider Nation Radio 920. We are hanging out at Sierra Gold. You can watch the game here. Come on down. Happy hour starts up at 5 o'clock. More importantly, Dan Mullen Radio Show. New time, 4 o'clock on Thursdays. Let's bring in Scott Seidenberg, who is nice enough to be flexible and come on with us a little earlier on Thursdays. He's busy because I know he was at Circa. What's going on, Scott?
Thanks for the invite, guys. I mean, I want to be at the bar with you. I want to hang out. I want to have a couple drinks and some appetizers. Come on.
When do you have time? You were at Circa all day today.
Yeah,
right?
Ultimate contest sign-up weekend at Circa. So Radio Row in Jeff Parles was there earlier. I saw him hanging out. But it was a good time catching up with a lot of people and doing some great interviews. Saw Austin Eckler hanging out all day today. So I'm sure he's been making the rounds on a lot of radio shows. And probably be back tomorrow to continue talking about all the great contests, of course, at Circa. And who's going to take home $20+ million this year in Circa Survivor, huh?
Better Day Podcast was on the scene, and like Scott said, might be on the scene tomorrow. Do you play a contest? Or you're a contest guy?
Yeah, I do. I do the college football contest over at the Westgate, Circa Millions, of course. Have a share of Circa Survivor. I'm not the type of person that has like 10 Survivor entries. I get into an entry with a couple other people, so at least we have one, and we're part of the, we have the lottery ticket, right? But I do concentrate more on those spread contests like Circa Millions, the Westgate College Football Contest, Last Man Standing over at Stations. So I do get involved in all the contests here in town.
Yeah, the contests are such a cool thing because big names are in it, and there's some accountability there. Like you can claim you hit 60% in whatever sport, and then when you put your name on an entry, I mean, a lot of people do it anonymously. You go in these contests, it's real, and I'll tell you what, the Circa Invitational is going to be really good this year. One of our cast members, Alex White, is going to be in it, so I hope she does well. She finished second 2 years ago, but you were sitting next to a guy today in Fezzik who was like, it really is the king of public contests because he won the Westgate twice. But he also, years ago, 15 years ago, he would do head-to-head contests against people, and you'd have battles where guys would hit 68 to 65% for a season. It was just incredible. And again, accountability is a big thing in this world, and you do the trench report, you put out the numbers. It does matter that people know how you're really doing.
Yes, and there was somebody that hit me up through somebody else, so didn't directly contact me, got in touch with someone to get in touch with me to tell them how much the trench report last year up on betterday.com helped them cash in Circa Millions. And so, of course, I said, well, then why didn't I just play all of my all of my trench report entries in Circa Millions? No, here I am, trying to deviate and do some game theory. Nope. This gentleman did want to thank me, so he did reach out to a third party that got in touch with me to thank me about helping him get into the money as a result of our trench reports.
Scott Seidenberg with us at Scott's On Air up on Twitter. I like this Week 0 slate. Now, I'm involved in one of the games working it with the UNLV-Memphis game. We'll get to that in about 4 or 5 games. But from a storyline standpoint, and again, there's a lot of unknowns. What are you thinking on Belichick and North Carolina in Dublin against TCU? Because it seems like everyone is pounding the Horned Frog side.
Yeah, we've seen this line move significantly. It got as high as 9.5 I'm seeing at Circa right now, which is crazy. And if you're looking at, like, from both sides, which side do you trust more? It's hard not to say you trust TCU more, even though they have the Harvard transfer coming in at quarterback, and we will find out what we're going to see from this offense, which is probably going to slow it down this year as opposed to, where they've been in the past under Kendall Briles. It's Samus now running the offense, so it should be a little bit slower. But you trust their talent more than what North Carolina has. And I know Bobby Petrino comes in to run the offense for Bill Belichick, and they named Billy Edwards Jr., the kid from Wisconsin, now the starting quarterback. They still have a talent discrepancy. They still are a team that underperformed last year significantly. So I think people are kind of remembering what happened last year. And with Stephen Belichick being away from the program because of medical issues, we don't know what's going on with that defense. The whole drama that happened this offseason with their general manager, Lombardi, a guy that we know in town very well. There's just a lot of distractions going on with North Carolina. Now, that's not to say there's no distractions going on with TCU. They're banning credentials from media reporters that are reporting about the fight that occurred in the locker room where their safety got dismissed from the team for putting their wide receiver in the hospital. So they have their own fair share of drama, but from a talent perspective, TCU has a lot more to offer than North Carolina here. My best bet ultimately for this game is the under. We've seen 3 straight games in Dublin reach only 45 points. I think both of these teams start out slow. I think both of them have difficulties running the football. And because of TCU slowing things down offensively this year with their new coordinator, I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. So I bet the under 47.5. We're now down to 46.5 across the board here for the game in Dublin.
Scott, I want to go to the one that was supposed to be in Brazil, but it's in Charlottesville, Virginia instead. UVA, NC State. I actually think the Wolfpack are a little bit underrated coming into the year because I think C.J. Bailey is a monster. This is starting to get bet on the Pack, though. We saw it as high as 6, and now it is 4 pretty much across the board here in Vegas, now with Virginia as a home favorite.
Yeah, there's a couple of 4.5s still left, which you can grab that. I would go ahead and grab that because, 4, a little bit lesser of a key number, but it still is a potential of landing. So you want to avoid that push and just get yourself a win if you can get the 4.5. I'm with you. I love NC State in this spot. I was surprised to see this line that high. Not surprised to see the steam go in favor of them. I get it. I do like Bo Prabula from Missouri coming over to be the quarterback now at Virginia, so he does have a lot of mobility. But NC State has owned this rivalry. Dave Doran has never lost to Virginia. The last time Virginia beat NC State was 2012. NC State won 35-31 last year. They carry over, as you mentioned, C.J. Bailey back, who, even though I do like Bo Prabula, is a better quarterback. I always go to the talent. I feel like the talent's better on NC State side. And, yeah, I think Virginia lucked out by having this be a home game for them because it's not neutral site now. So they don't play any road games for really this season, any true road games. So it's important for them to take advantage of this. But I thought the number was too high. I think anything north of a field goal is honestly too high, and I'd be on NC State. Again, anything over a field goal.
Let's go to L.A., USC with a week 0 game against San Jose State. Scott, there's one common denominator with these week 0 games and Lincoln Riley. There are points, and there's usually a good amount of them.
Yeah, and there's also a theme with USC and San Jose State, 6-0, all by double digits, too. So they've owned this rivalry. But, yeah, Lincoln Riley, 73 points in the opener against Missouri State last year. It was 48 against Utah State, 56 against San Jose State a couple of years ago, 66 against Rice. Anytime Lincoln Riley has a tune-up game, they're going to keep their foot on the gas, and they're going to put up a ton of points. And let's be honest, guys, there is a lot of pressure on Lincoln Riley this year. Right, and I know that they have an easy start to the schedule, and then it gets a lot more difficult. Their win total is around 8.5. I don't see anybody that's really predicting them to make noise in the Big Ten. I mean, they could. If there's anybody that could do it, it's Lincoln Riley. We love the quarterback in Jaden Mayava. We're obviously familiar with him here in town. But this is a team and a coach that will not let up here against an inferior opponent because they have a lot to prove this year. And the one thing that benefits USC this year as opposed to in previous years, Gary Patterson, the former TCU coach, college football Hall of Famer, now is running the defense. So I don't know how many points San Jose State's going to score in this game. USC might win 49-0.
Scott, what do we do with North Dakota State? They're hosting Jacksonville State. Again, not like Jacksonville State has been at FBS long, but first FBS game as an FBS program for the Bison. And we saw it open around 10 in some spots. It's down to a touchdown most places right now with North Dakota State at the Fargo Dome.
Yeah, grab the touchdown while you can. I took the points with Jacksonville State earlier this week. I love their quarterback, Caden Creel. He's a really good veteran. He's been there for a while. He knows the system. He can run the system. He's mobile as well. And I get it. The Fargo Dome is going to be lit, as they say. But it's their first step up into the FBS division, right? And I think that there's a lot of pressure and maybe some nerves for this team to show up because of the success that they had at the FCS level. I know that these two teams like kind of they played in the FCS championship game like several years ago, but Jacksonville State has been in the conference championship game 2 years in a row. They've played at this level now for a couple of years. I think they have more experience and more confidence at this level to keep this one close. It's going to be a fun game, but Jacksonville State plus a touchdown is the way to go.
Go to Better Day Podcast, listen to the podcast. Scott Seidenberg, he runs the whole thing, is with us here on Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas. I saw you guys had some free picks up on the site, and one of them was covering the Hawaii-Stanford game and was talking about the total. I know last week you didn't have a whole lot on the game. What are you thinking now? I know you were probably going to shy away from Hawaii. You changed your mind, and what's going to happen with that total?
So we do like the under. It's now down to 48.5. You can still grab a 49, and that's a key number, obviously 49, because what did Fez ask me today? He's like, "Hey Scott, what's 31 plus 17?" And I was like, 48, Fez. And he's like, key number. So we always talk about where the potential for scores are, right? Like anytime you see numbers in football, it's like, well, 49, 49 and a half. Well, how are they going to get there? Oh, this many touchdowns, this many field goals. Like start to think about the realistic possibility of scores. 31-17 is a score that could happen. So 48 and a half going under is the way to go here. 49, I see at Circa. You can grab that. I don't know what Hawaii's offense is going to look like with Ashlock, their wide receiver, banged up. There's so much praise for Mike Alejado. He's on all the preseason watch lists now. But this is a revenge game for Stanford. Like, let's not forget, amidst the comeback last year by Hawaii and a great result for them, was Stanford and Frank Wright absolutely giving this game away. They ran the ball down the throats of Hawaii and then all of a sudden stopped running the football. They got a new head coach this year trying to establish a culture. He's not going to make that mistake that Frank Wright last year. What was it, 43 runs? You think about it. They run it 45 times or 48 times. They probably win that game last year. Stanford absolutely outplayed them in that game. And now that it's at home, it's a completely different environment. We know how difficult it is to go out to the island and play. It's the third time in 4 years that they're opening against each other, but this is the first time it's in Palo Alto. So I think the home field has the advantage here. I would play Stanford, and right now we're seeing minus 3.5 as the best number you can get. I would grab that before it's gone.
All right, let's close strong with the game in town, UNLV and Memphis. The line's been all over the place. Now it seems to be steaming toward Memphis. You like anything with the side or the total?
So is Dan Mullen going to announce a starting quarterback, or are we just going to wait and see, what happens when we get to Saturday night? Steve, you probably know more than me. I mean, I heard his comments in the press conference where it's like, what's a starter anyway? Like, if we're running 5 wide and Jet Thomas is not out there, are people going to complain that he's not a starter? Like, all right, that's a cute comment, but it's the quarterback. We want to know who's playing, Dan. We need to know. I know you have him coming up on the show in a little bit, so I hope he leaks something out here. I think we're assuming it's Jackson Arnold, but you never want to assume. You know what that means. Maybe it's gamesmanship. You don't know. You want Charles Huff in Memphis to not know who to prepare for, but you know what I say? You always want to prepare for an orgy. Memphis is going with Marcus Stokes. And this kid, people forget, and if you do your research on Marcus Stokes, this kid was a Penn State recruit who then flipped and committed to Florida. But because of an unfortunate social media post, he had his scholarship pulled, and therefore he goes to a Division II program where he throws for 40 touchdowns last year and was a finalist for the Division II version of the Heisman Trophy. Memphis's offense is going to be good, even though all 11 starters on defense are transfers. So we don't know exactly what to do with them as a whole. I think it's a close game in the first half that opens up more in the second half. I'd be looking at a live over if we get a couple of stalled drives to start the game because, like I said, you have new quarterbacks coming over, whether it's Jackson Arnold starting for UNLV or Stokes starting for Memphis. The first couple of drives might be slow for these quarterbacks, but then I think it opens up in the second half. So total right now sitting at 56.5. Get something in game. If the first quarter is a little bit low scoring, play a live over because I do think the second half will open up Saturday night.
All right, Scott, going out. Tell people about Better Day Podcast.
Yeah, the podcast, we have episodes every Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. Eastern Time. On Thursdays, we live stream the Better Day Football Show. Myself, Pro Better Steve Fezzik, college football analyst Joshua Nunn. Every Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Time. You can learn more about us by going to betterday.com, bettorday.com, or download the Better Day mobile app. And you can join us, become a Better Day insider, get access to the trench reports, all the data and models and props projections that we have up on the website, or become a premium member and have insight to our contributor picks network. So it's all available up on betterday.com and the Better Day mobile app.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. Good luck this weekend.
Good luck, guys.
There he is, Scott Seidenberg at Scott's On Air to find all the links to Better Day Podcast and, of course, those shows with VSiN 1230, the game right here in town. A great place to hang out on Saturday is with Willie Ramirez right across the street from the stadium where the UNLV game goes down against Memphis. At Whiskey Stadium, you can win Rebel gear. They're going to have $1.95 Miller Lite drafts. Best thing is the VIP lounge tickets for the game. You go over, you get the food, the drink, you get great seats. You can win that with Willie between 5 and 7. You can also try the Dan Mullen menu at Whiskey. It's Whiskey Stadium. It's all brought to you by Findlay Toyota. Whiskey Stadium, 5 to 7 on Saturday with Willie Ramirez, right before UNLV takes on Memphis.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Yep, 7 o'clock kickoff for UNLV against Memphis on Saturday, 6 o'clock with the Ted Weens pregame show. Tonight, over on Raider Nation Radio, 920, coverage has begun for the Raiders game, 5 o'clock kickoff at Allegiant. So it's interesting. I've done a bunch of spots this week, Jeff. Jeff Parles is here. It's Cofield. We're hanging out at Sierra Gold before the Dan Mullen radio show goes live at 4 o'clock. It's interesting, when I did some of the spots in Memphis, one of the guys asked me, hey, who's your pick for the Group of 6 champion? And I was like, I don't have one right now, because when I looked at the odds board, I think there's so much value down the odds board. I think it's going to be really difficult for Boise, UNLV, Navy. You have the board in front of you. Who else is in the top 5?
James Madison, Texas San Antonio, South Florida, which I don't quite understand either.
I think JMU could have another really, really good season, although, again, now they're starting over with a new coach. But these schools that are in the Pac-12, the Mountain West, and the AAC especially, I don't know that the team that wins it is on the top of the odds board. I think there's value further down the board. To me, and this is for the Group of 6 CFP spot. Now, technically, if 2 teams made it again, you're still cashing. But it's very much a long shot now with the tweaks. They're going to try to never let that happen again.
There's almost no shot of it happening unless if something really wild happens.
Well, remember, the door opened last year because of the ACC.
Right, and that can't happen anymore with the tweaks. And Notre Dame also is now guaranteed a spot if they're in the top 12 period. So it just completely, again, I don't think Notre Dame will even need the help. If Notre Dame loses more than one game, I'd be surprised with the way their schedule is. But look, if you look at the way that this breaks down, so Boise's the betting favorite, which is probably right because they're the best team in the Pac-12 by margin to me. They do have to go to Oregon as well early, so the committee can be like, they played in Eugene and they lost to Oregon by 17. That's not that bad, or something ridiculous like that. UNLV has, again, we talked about it, these first 5 weeks are really difficult with the way that the schedule broke down. The 2 home games are against 2 good teams in Memphis and Cal, and the way the road trips split up, it's a very weird schedule. But if UNLV gets through the first 5 weeks at 4-1, especially if one of those 4 wins is against Cal, they're the team at that point. They would have to go 11-1, but this roster is more than capable of it. But then you look the rest of it. I mean, Cofield, there is an opportunity. There is an opportunity down the board here. I just don't know who. Could it be Air Force on a big-time bounce back this year at 35-1? Could it be a Tulane, even though they lose their coach and it's a whole new era down there? Maybe they're a surprise as high as 15-1. It's a very difficult one. And if you find a needle in the haystack this go around, you're going to have a nice little profit in your pocket.
Yeah. Next 2 days, I'm going to build the case for North Dakota State.
Okay.
I think it's the dream that I know. I think it's a dream that could happen for them. All right, on the way back, we got to Chicago. We got a lot of legal stories around the world of sports. Also, some WNBA crime to get into. As Exavier Pope is up next on Cofield and Company as we're steaming towards the Dan Mullen radio show. 4 o'clock start here at Sierra Gold. Jones and 215, South Jones and 215. You can watch the show live. It is a 4 o'clock start with the coach and Caleb Herring and Matt Nevert.
Now back to Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Lots of good stories to get into here on this Thursday. We always talk to Exavier Pope, attorney out of Chicago, Cofield and Company, cultural contributor. It's Parles, it's Cofield. EP, what's going on, buddy?
All right, Steve. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. I don't want to start on a down note, but the last couple of days, if you're fans of entertainers, kind of sucked with Dolly Parton and Tim Curry.
Yeah, it kind of sucked. Dolly Parton, a great humanitarian, a great country singer, a legend. He had cities all around lighting their skylines in pink to honor her. Just a legendary person. Also encouraged kids to read, donate, and her contribution to libraries. Just really an amazing person. And then Tim Curry, Clue was like one of my favorite movies as a kid. I still watch it to this day. I remember practically every line of that film. Rocky Horror Picture Show, he was known for it, but he had so many different other roles that he was known for. He also played Satan at some point, but he was awesome. He just was an amazing personality. Just two big losses in the entertainment industry.
Dolly Parton, very big on female empowerment. If you go back and check out her story, when she was with Porter Wagner to start her career, she was kind of under his thumb, and she split. And yet we still see stories out there, and we know what these times are like, trying to go backwards in time with a really weird one. Talk about being tone deaf. I guess you could look at it and think it's funny, but I don't know how you thought you were going to get away with it. Callaway, and they're knocking a woman to the ground over, like, touching a club commercial? Huh?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is they partnered with Good, who came to prominence in 2020, making these really sensational different videos, and it got the attention and got some money behind them. There was a capital company that's owned by Peyton Manning, and then they got the PGA and Tour involved, and then they had this commercial. It's the first commercial people widely know them for. And the founder of Good is in the commercial, knocking over a female golfer and saying, "Don't touch my driver." I mean, it was outrageous. It doesn't matter where you stand in politics in relation to women. Violence against women is absolutely horrible. To not only to knock her down, but stand over her, and then get into a 9-minute video trying to explain why you knocked a woman down just made it worse. And Callaway, they came out and talked about how they didn't have their process of reviewing videos or their content practices in order. But as soon as they said that, that was when they got rid of Good, and I think that was the most important part. Now the PGA is next up because they have an event that's a PGA event in November, and I think the PGA is going to probably wind up pulling the plug on Good as well.
EP, what happened with the Erica Hamby and the unknown number?
I mean, she's on X. She shared a post on X with the number is, where the number is, who is this person? The person says called them an animal, and interesting people will come on the internet think that there truly are anonymous, but then people found out the person's number, and then he wound up getting taken care of by his job, and so. That's good on his job, actually, taking responsibility for their employee and making sure he didn't work another day at that job. And I think it's just so interesting that the WNBA has now become a target for sexism and for potential violence and slurs. This is just absurd to be able to attack women's sport, and some of these same people will turn around and try to claim they're trying to protect women like Enes Kanter.
Yeah, well, let's get to the guy who is the biggest ally to women now in the United States, and his Kanter. I mean, a lot of people have gone back at him and said, "You're actually doing the opposite of it by trying to be the star of the story." I saw Charlemagne the God chimed in on this, and he pretty much nailed it with the former NBA player and his hijinks last week.
Yeah, he said that if you're gonna come into a arena that women are playing and they're working, and mostly women are in the stands. And you come in and you walk down to the court to harass the women on the court, and then you say you're standing up for them. No, you're not. You actually are the absolute problem in this situation. I think that Enes Kanter is an idiot. Pays $4,000 just to go down to harass women. And then after that says, I'm going to potentially sue. What grounds do you have to sue when they kick you out of the game? Your ticket basically says they can remove you for any and all reasons other than related to something that's discriminatory. And there's nothing that was there that shows they discriminated against this guy who's sitting and harassing women. He's a complete idiot. He's seeking attention for an issue that he really probably doesn't actually care about for a guy who's a washed, failed NBA player.
Yeah, I don't think people realize that, and this isn't about right now right when you go to a game, but we see a lot of stories come down the pike where I'm like, oh, that fan should sue. And then actually, if you look at the back of the ticket, there's a disclaimer back there that covers almost everything. Like you just said, they can remove you for just about anything. And in this case, I like what the owner said. I mean, frankly, he should have said it even stronger. Like, it's not safe for you, Cantor, at the games, but you're creating an environment that's unsafe. We can't have you here.
Yeah, and my initial response that all the WNBA teams should ban them from their arenas, and a lot of people said NBA arenas should do the same with their relationship with the WNBA. And you're creating a hostile environment. Not only is that, though, Steve, he's creating an environment where copycats can come do the same as him and do something potentially worse than him. And that's what my biggest fear, Steve, is that you have some of these other bros that want to go out and harass women on the court, and I think that's the biggest danger with what he just.
EP Exavier Pope is with us, attorney out of Chicago. He's our cultural contributor on Thursdays. Okay, I know you had a couple angles on the Padres' new ownership with Jose Feliciano and his wife Kwanzaa Jones, who was very, very excited to own the team at a press conference. And this is a good thing for baseball, isn't it?
It's a great thing for baseball. The first majority Puerto Rican owner, black woman owner in the city that has three owners that are related, that are African-American women in that town. And I just hopefully that they change the uniform. But before I get around to that, she's had such an inspirational background. She's
in Las Vegas. You know, I don't really know a whole lot about Drewski. I remember saying to myself about 2 years ago, I'm like, who is this guy? He's on every commercial. I've never seen him before. That doesn't mean anything because I'm not aware of a lot of things. But I got to tell you, over time, his sneaky messages, and they're not that sneaky if your IQ's above 83, but his messages in his comedy reels a lot of times are brilliant, and it was pretty sobering watching his piece that was like 3 minutes long on football players suffering a concussion. You want to tell the audience how the video went along and when the message it was sending?
Absolutely. In the video, first of all, Drewski has a huge following, connected to so many different platforms. He's in a lot of commercials. And he played a character called Ray Price, a play on Ray Rice, a former NFL player who was pretty much kicked out of the league for abusing his wife, and the impact of CTE. And he kind of has on this suit that looks like abs in it, and he gets hit and he kind of falls on the ground. He kind of makes this position, and then shows him potentially exacting violence towards women. Shows him. Being just generally awful, and then he's on a police chase in his gold Ferrari down in California that kind of mimicked, kind of mocked as O.J. Simpson, really, if you think about it. And so he kind of combined a lot of different figures in sports that have had these falls to talk about the issues that happen with CTE. And I think what's brilliant about Drewski's comedy is it's funny, but then it's so sobering because there's a lot of truth in it. And I think that's the best comedy. When you deliver the point, but you make people stop and go, oh, I feel uncomfortable with this, but I know this is the truth. And that inspires potential change and true looking at an issue in a really deeper way.
Well, I thought the guy it immediately tied to was Antonio Brown, and that's why about 2 weeks ago when people started talking about the football player Antonio Brown and his hijinks away from the field and that he's not going to make the Hall of Fame, how about we recognize what this is, that he's probably got problems, he won't get help, he's suffering from post-concussion syndrome years later. Yes, he's erratic, yes, he's a lunatic, yes, he's violent, but I think we have to start looking at this, especially with how much we love football, with a more open mind that if someone is exhibiting issues, it's not just because they're a bad person.
Yeah, we have to think about as some of the other guys. What happened with Dave Durison? What happened with Julian Seau? Basically, trying to share with the world why they were killing themselves, Steve. And the timing of this is just on the heels of the NFL season. Remember when Concussion, the Will Smith movie came out? It came right on the heels of the NFL season. So I think this is important to bring the timing. And so looking at the sport and what's really going on with the sport, yes, it is a profitable league. Yes, the shield is being protected, but it's important for the public to look at these different issues. Now you have certain players that are saying, I'm going to wear where the cap over my head for the whole season. I don't care how silly I look. And so to protect themselves from second-hand injury, Steve.
So you can hear I try to be empathetic. In the case of Deshaun Watson, when Shedeur Sanders was trying to be empathetic about the fans booing him and Deshaun's initial message, you didn't like what Shedeur said?
Yeah, I don't like what Felder said. He was just basically saying that people should respect him and not go across the line. But what the issue is, how can you not pay attention to what's going on off the field when it's potentially sexual assault versus women? I think that's something that's important for people to understand, and why people don't. That how their fans have responded negatively to Deshaun Watson. But it's a combination not just of the off the field stuff. It's the amount of money, potentially $200 million of dead money if they have him on the roster after March, $86 million of dead cap money. Even if he is already cut, they potentially Browns cannot spread out that money across over multiple years. And so that the fan base is, and he's not that good. And so he hasn't performed on the field. He hasn't played a meaningful game in years, and he is a cancer to the team, and a team that once was looking like they were potentially on the way up for a hot second when they had Joe Flacco playing backup duty. But I think that's something that Shedeur Sanders didn't have to cover for Deshaun Watson.
Xavier, we are up against it. We appreciate it, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
Love you guys.
Coming up in less than 4 minutes, the Dan Mullen Radio Show live at Sierra Gold. We're here as well with Cofield and Company, the coach, and Herring and Matt Neverett on the way.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Rolling on Cofield and Company, following up the Dan Mullen Radio Show live here at Sierra Gold. So come on down. We'll be here until 6 o'clock. It is time to check in with our National College Football Insider. We love talking to Michael Felder in the bleachers each and every week. We got week 0, baby. You have a problem with week 0, huh?
Just call it week 1, man. Like, I don't understand what the difference is. It's like there's no, like, real novelty to playing in week 0. There's 8 games. Great. Some guys are going to get to kick the tires a little bit before the other guys. But the reality for me is just call it week 1, and we'll just, guess what? We'll play till week 15, week 16. That doesn't matter. Like, I don't understand. There is when it started, it was a novel concept. Am I wrong for thinking that? Like, when it started,
cool because there were some big standalone games.
The big standalone games right now, UNC, TCU, and Dublin. NC State, Virginia, I would say yes. To me, that's the biggest standalone game because it's a league game. And then I think Memphis and UNLV, and even though they lost their head coach. So this is going to be, and quarterback. This is going to be a really interesting situation to see how they handle all this stuff. But just call it week 1, move week 1 up, and then week 2, we go on Labor Day weekend, whatever it is, and you go from there.
Michael Felder up on ESPN Las Vegas Hand in the Dirt podcast with Learfield. You can find him on Twitter at In the Bleachers. Most importantly, go to itsfelder.substack.com to get all of his writing and newsletters and podcasts. Okay, let's get into some of the big games. You're also a writer who covers the Tar Heels. You went to North Carolina. This has been a mess of an era with Bill Belichick. Do you feel like they have it straightened out? Are they ready to play a game in Dublin against what we think is a pretty good TCU team? We'll get to the tumult, though, with TCU.
Yeah, I don't know. I talk every day. I talk to folks that are closer than I am, or in some ways. Like, they actually live in Chapel Hill. They work there. They do that. Nobody has a good beat on this. And obviously, the Michael Lombardi thing, I think, is less important than the Steve Belichick thing because we still don't know what's going on from a health standpoint. And obviously, it's hard to get a straight answer on what's happening with him, and so we'll see. But I trust the defense for UNC. I'm very curious to see because I was talking to Marshall Newhouse. He's going to the TCU Hall of Fame this year as an offensive lineman, and he said they got 2 guys at corner that are 6'2", like 190 pounds, long arms. I was like, that's going to be a problem. And UNC starting Billy Edwards coming off injury. Kid that played at Wisconsin, had a decent year at Maryland, and then was redshirted at Wake Forest. So this is his 4th school, I believe, in 4 years. So this is who they're – listen, the eggs are in that basket. We'll see what Bobby Petrino can do. This team is – off the field looks really bad. On the field it does. I will say this. It does seem like they like each other. And that goes a long way in my mind when it comes to football teams. Teams that like each other, teams that want to challenge each other, goes a longer way to me than any sort of like made up stuff that you can put out there. These guys seem like they like each other. They're doing things together off the field. And I'll tell you what, Chapel Hill's a hell of a place to do stuff off the field.
On the TCU side, I don't think this will affect the game, but they have some weird stuff. Well, this part will because they lost a player. They had a player fight, and one of their safeties got booted off the team. Now the rub is they don't like the coverage by the Fort Worth Star Telegram, and then they banned a writer. I don't get schools, especially in a market like Dallas. This is not Podunk where you can bully people and hide the truth. What are we trying to do here?
Control the narrative, control the situation. I mean, how often did you hear about UNC the fighting last year? Not much, right? You didn't hear about the inner, like they were fighting over parking spaces. They were fighting over numbers. Like these are all things firsthand accounts. Like they were fighting over all these things. And that's why I said it's important. See what you did? You got me to work forward to go backwards. When I said this seems like a team that like each other. Last year they didn't like each other. And so we'll see what happens. TCU though, good bones, man. They've got so many running backs. And talking to Marshall, the coolest thing for him, and he's as an offensive lineman, you know what offensive linemen like, run the football. And Marshall just goes, it's going to be a heavy outside zone scheme, and we got 3 guys at running back. Like, I don't know if you play space, but he said they got 3 in a possible. Just at the running back spot. They like Jaden Craig and what they're going to get out of him, so that they just got to find playmakers on the outside. And we'll see what this looks like for UNC. And listen, I'll be there, tuned in, noon Eastern on Saturday. I almost got it wrong. So I'll be tuned in. I get my girls ready for the pool. They go to the pool. They go to piano. Then they go to the pool. And so it's just going to be me at home watching this game. And it is nice that they have just like, I'm not going to call it top billing, but I will say that the 12 by itself spot until 3 is a good spot to be in.
Yeah. Another big ACC game, I think. NC State and Virginia, kind of teams in that group that's like number 3 down to number 9. It could be shuffled anyway. This is a big one.
Yep.
The line's gone from 5.5 down to 4. Virginia's favored. It's Virginia hosting NC State.
I guess it's because it's in Charlottesville. Is that right?
Yeah, that would be the edge. I mean, obviously, usually 3, somewhere down to 1.5 is the home field advantage. But people are betting on NC State, so there's respect coming in.
Here's what I'm going to tell people right now: put this game on 3:30. Put this game on because I'm going to tell you something. I think C.J. Bailey belongs in the conversation with Moore from Oregon. What is it? Maeva from USC with Arch Manning. C.J. Bailey belongs in that conversation. Go watch a guy play. And I was listening to my guy, Eric McLean. He said Virginia might have the best offensive line, but he doesn't know what the pieces look like behind it. So we'll see how that shakes out. But I'm telling you, you want to see good quarterback play. And listen, I only got 30 seconds. I don't know if you saw this. I only got like 30 seconds with C.J. Bailey. All we did was take an escalator ride up to the 3rd floor. During AC, because they were like, everybody else has already got him booked. This guy might be ACC Player of the Year. I said, can I just have him on the elevator? Or on the escalator, excuse me. She said, yeah, no problem. Escalator.
No problem.
So we ride that, and he remembered me from the year before. And so, you dap up and you're like, okay, I've only got 3 till we get to the top. Let's do this. And we step onto the escalator. I asked him why he wasn't mentioned with the guys that we just mentioned. He said, I don't know. I guess we got to go out and win an ACC championship, which is a great answer, by the way.
Yeah.
And Dave Doran is being wild right now. I don't know if folks know who Dave Doran is. He used to be at Northern Illinois. Now he's at NC State. Been there for a long time. Can't get over that 9-win hump. This could be the year. I think this might be the year because C.J. Bailey is I think he's a top 5 returning quarterback. I think he's going to be very special for them. Here's the other thing. With C.J. Bailey, this is one of my favorite things. I asked him, we were doing Radio Row for Learfield last year, and I said, man, you really are 6'6", huh? And he looked at me and he goes, no, I'm 6'7". So the funniest part, so it's more of a trend. It's like, was it an in-between spot? But I said, dude, do you remember what I asked you last year? And he said, no. What? He said, I don't remember you from last year. Like, because here's the reality, Cofield. I'm the black guy with a beard, huge beard. And now it's got a lot of gray in it. So I'm pretty memorable. And he goes, what? I said, I asked you if you were 6'6". He goes, oh, no, I'm 6'7". And then he goes 6'7", 6'7".
Ah, no.
So it was good. I'm rooting for him. I know people, if there's UNC fans listening, they're not going to like that. But the reality is I'm rooting for CJ Bailey. I think he is class act and truly a kid that's been through the fire. And I think he's going to have a really good year. I think NC State wins that game straight up.
It's the opener for all these teams, so really every game is of interest because you don't know what you have. Between these three games, you have one that you're looking at that has an interesting narrative. Jacksonville State against North Dakota State, up from FCS. Hawaii at Stanford, and San Jose at USC. USC with legit hopes now of making the playoffs and challenging for a national title.
Lincoln Riley better be about that action. You know what I'm saying? Like, he better, in a year where Penn State has lost their coach. Michigan has a new coach. You've got one of the top, what is it, Jaden? You got one, Jaden, how do you say his last name?
Jaden Mayava.
Yep. So I did get it right.
Guy.
I did get it. I got it right the first time. Yep. So you got, when you have these pieces and all the skill positions that you could ever dream of, you better do something, Lincoln. If you don't make this playoff, now people are going to start to question you. So that game right there is a tone setter for me. You got them at home. Oh, wow. I'm looking at the current spread that you put in here. It's 38-5.
Yeah.
That's a big number.
It's a big one. Yeah.
That's a big number.
I don't like laying that many points in an opening game. If the offense doesn't click early, you don't get some big plays. It's tough to cover, but we'll see. I think San Jose State will be a little better than last year. They lost a lot of close games, and Ken Matalolo is a good coach. So out here, Michael Felder's with us here on ESPN Las Vegas, and it's actually got a prime spot on Fox in the evening at 7 o'clock. I guess it would be, 10 o'clock? Yeah, 10 o'clock Eastern, because it's a 7 o'clock kickoff here. Yeah. Memphis is, I think, the richest or second richest program at the Group of Six level with South Florida. UNLV's trying to get there. UNLV's been winning. Memphis has been winning. Memphis has a whole new team and a whole new coaching staff, but they do have a guy in Marcus Stokes, who I think is going to start, who could be the kind of difference maker where Memphis can pull off the upset. This is a real game, and there's a lot on the line because you don't often see the Group of Six schools and stay in the top 15 Group of Six. You have to play each other non-con.
I'm pumped. I think NC State UVA is probably game one. This is game two for me. I mean, the hardest part for me is looking at Memphis's roster and seeing transfer. Keep
going. It was 71. 71 new players.
Like, those guys got to get on the same page, and it's hard. We saw it last year with UNC with like 40, 50 transfers. It's hard for them to get on the same page. So how quickly can you get on the same page in a world where, like, UNLV they want to go out and they want to win football games. So this is not a setup. This is like, you got to go win. And I'm very curious to see what this game looks like. And you know what? It's at the end of the night for me. There'll only be one game on. It's nice. They'll get the big screen treatment. And I get to just, do some tweeting, put my feet up and see what we got here. Because I do think that, obviously, and shout out to my guy, Marshall Newhouse. He's actually covering games from Mountain West this year. So he'll be out there a bunch. And I want to get a jump on him because he'll be back. I'm going to talk to him again, and I want to get a jump on him about UNLV. And I got the inside info next to my man Cofield. So
yeah,
we're good to go. I just think that this is a game where you have to look at how all these transfers, how does it work? And again, I'll circle back to the UNC thing. Are these guys happy to be there, or not happy to be there, happy to be playing with each other?
Yeah. Well, one of the narratives too, guys, I've seen obviously a lot of conversation from folks on Twitter. College football fans can be pretty obnoxious. And someone was saying Memphis has, a whole new team and UNLV has like 12 guys back. And that's not the case. Actually, UNLV has 50 plus guys back. I counted, and I don't know about all the availability, but they're at like 51 players back. Mullen is actually starting to build and retain, which makes a big difference. The other big storyline here, and especially because they're playing a team from the South, is Jackson Arnold is universally panned by Southern football fans.
Yep.
And this is the guy Dan Mullen and Corey Dennis have wanted for 2 years. They believe this experiment can work with them and they can fix the guy. Can they?
Yeah, I don't think he's broken. I think it's about usage and teaching. Like, that's one thing, and maybe this is coming from a child of teachers. I don't think these guys are students. I don't think they can be broken. I don't think they're broken. There's a want to, not want to. Sure. That's a switch you either have or you don't. But to me, I think it's about how you approach these kids and how you talk to them and how you teach them. Anybody can be taught. You have to change your methods. But anybody can be taught. And so for Jackson Arnold, super highly touted kid, for him, it's about meeting him at his level and then pushing his level higher. And I think Dan Mullen, over the course of his career, right, has been pretty freaking good at that.
He has been. And last year he turned a guy who was very sloppy with the ball and irresponsible, and Anthony Calandria, into the Mountain West Conference Offensive Player of the Year. One more thing on what's at stake. Because both of these teams could win 7 games. They could win 5 games. I mean, this might not mean a whole lot in November. We don't know. Right now, there's 13 teams at Group of 6 between 10-1 and about 28-1 to get that one spot in the CFP.
Right.
I think it's 1. Boise's about 6-1. Can I give you a story that is worth following this weekend?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what North Dakota State is going to be moving up in year 1 from FCS to FBS. We've seen a lot of success with JMU and Old Dominion, and it is possible in a lighter Mountain West Conference that North Dakota State could have a magical season because they didn't have any time to line up their schedule. Non-con, they still kind of have an FCS easier non-con schedule. I'm fascinated to see what their brand of football is going to be like at this level, and I can tell you, I kept saying it at Mountain West Conference Media Day, like that there wasn't anyone walking, or Boise's gone, right? There wasn't anyone walking around with their chest puffed out like, hey, we're the guys. And everyone in the room knows they're the guys. And I said, North Dakota State kind of carries itself like that because they've been doing so much winning over the years. I don't think they care that they're jumping FCS to FBS. They believe now.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think the biggest thing for me, we just spent so much time talking about Memphis, right? Basically an entirely new football team. You know what North Dakota State doesn't have? An entirely new football team. They've got a team of guys. They brought in a couple transfers, but the reality for them is, like, they brought in guys that are like, I'm happy to be here. Like, let's go make this work. They didn't go and reach and, like, overpay or entice people with money and money. I need money. No, they went out and they got some guys to fit some small holes that they have. But their depth chart, like I'm looking at it right now, their depth chart, largely not starters. Number 2s, their 2s have been there. Mm-hmm. They have, I think, 1 transfer as a 2. Everybody else been there, which means you know the program, you know the defense or the offense, and you understand the expectations. So how do they say it? Bison?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bison. I'll have eyeballs on them.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, because it's a home game, and the Fargo Dome is supposed to be wild. One more thing on them. I really think the difference between mid-level and top teams in Group of 6 and FCS, top teams in FCS is not that different. I think there's a speed difference, and I think there's a measurables difference. But that you're not going to convince me that a lineman who is 6'2" and 310 can't play because he's not 6'6", or a DT who is 5'11", 290 can't play because he's not 6'4". And I think that's a lot of the difference. And North Dakota State probably has the best track record in the Mountain West Conference of producing NFL players, and like they've already done that. Michael Felder's with us here. All right, let's get to some important SEC quarterback battles. What do you think was the most shocking? There is a freshman starting at Tennessee. The 5-star freshman at Vandy didn't get the job for now, although they say both guys are going to play. New Mexico State transfer got the job. Philo wins at Florida. Obviously, the biggest one is at Alabama. For you, what's the most impactful quarterback decision in the SEC?
KJ Jackson. beating out the transfer. Like, the coach brought that kid with him to play.
AJ Hill.
Yeah, AJ Hill. And KJ Jackson beat him out. So we'll see what hopefully a healthy KJ Jackson can do. Listen, I'll never stop harping on this. FaZe and Brandon, you know where he's from. Didn't even think about going to UNC. He's from North Carolina, for people that don't know. Went to Grimsley High School. Like, he's from up the road from me. And I'm sure that Heupel is trying to get, like, he wants, listen, he's like, give me this fresh blood. We'll push him. We're going to push him out, and we're going to throw the ball around, and we're going to use those legs, too, because he's a pretty athletic kid. The Kalen Russell one didn't really surprise me that much. And I think it's just going to be a matter of, we talked about this before, but I think this is Kalen DeBoer's football team now. And if his guy is going to be Kalen Russell, then that's going to be his guy, and they're going to call an offense that works for him. Berkowitz at Vandy, interesting. But they're also, again, like you mentioned, they're going to play the other kid, the Curtis kid. So they're going into this with extra stuff. I don't know what to expect from Florida, man. I know, obviously, the new coach, Summerall. When's the last time they had good quarterback play? I mean, I'm trying to, like, temper my language. I am trying to temper my language. But when's the last time they had good, reliable, consistent quarterback play?
It has sputtered at the QB all the way back to the end of the Mullen era.
Yeah, Tebow and Chris Leak. Those are everybody else has just been like an up and down. Like, no. Emory Jones, what? No. Like, it's just not. It's not working.
Mike, appreciate it. Everyone, check out Learfield's Hand in the Dirt at In the Bleachers up on Twitter. Most important, sign up for itsfelder.substack.com. We'll see you, buddy.
Sounds good, man. Take it easy.
There he is, Michael Felder. Coming up, we're going to get into what's going on down at Circa, talk a little Chicago sports, and roll on towards the grab bag here on a Thursday edition of Cofield and Company Live at Sierra Gold, 215 in Jones.
Now back to Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Jeff Parles is here as we roll on at Sierra Gold. Thanks to Michael Felder for joining us there live at 215 and South Jones. We got some breaking news coming in. Some stuff on the Raiders we'll get to in a couple minutes. Also, you heard the news about the Aces and Melissa Smith, as there's so much to cover here. College football on the way, and Circa has an awesome weekend, the Ultimate Contest weekend, where they've got a great panel going down on Saturday. They've got a radio row, and it's all about their mega contest, Survivor and Circa Millions and Grandissimo. And Ruthie Polinsky, who is a longtime broadcaster, right? I always date people, whether they're young or old, but in Chicago is actually part of the festivities, and she actually is nice enough to give Jeff Parles and me, Steve Cofield, a couple of minutes here on this Thursday. How are you?
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate you having me on. I'm looking forward to getting on this flight and heading to Vegas here in about 10 hours.
Are you a Vegas veteran?
Okay, I'm so glad you asked the question. I haven't been to Vegas. I was trying to think the other day. I don't think I've been to Vegas in probably 10 years or so. So now I'm sort of more of an adult maybe than I was the last time I was there. So I'm really looking forward to experiencing like adult fun in Vegas more so than like college kid fun. I'm excited. I feel like there's so much to squeeze in a just a couple of days that I'm there.
Well, you're going to be blown away by Circa. I'm sure you've seen some pictures, but it is fantastic. And you want to talk about a casino that embraces sports. They love sports at Circa and sports bettors.
I cannot wait. I'm so excited to see it. Obviously, I've seen Circa Swim. That makes its rounds all over social media. And it's a perfect time of year to be there with everything going on all at once. It's like you can't believe it. But looking forward, I'll be talking about football primarily with the panel on Saturday afternoon. So really looking forward to that. And I heard we locked up Austin Eckler, who is also making the rounds today. I saw on Radio Row. So he'll be a part of the panel as well. I've followed his career for some bit now. So really looking forward to all the festivities.
So let's talk a little football before we get to more of the stuff with the Ultimate Contest weekend with all the gambling stuff. Obviously, you're in the center of the fury there in Chicago with the Bears. What do the fans expect from the Bears this year? Because we know in the NFL sometimes, you take a big step forward and then next year you can take a step backwards.
Yeah, and Ben Johnson likes to remind everyone that they are the number one regression candidate because he's trying to find any edge he can possibly give his guys at any possible time. This is a team that has very high expectations, guys. I mean, obviously winning a playoff game last year, just being really a couple of plays away from potentially beating the Rams and going to the NFC Championship, which caught everyone by surprise. It was really sort of a coming-of-age year for Caleb Williams where he sort of surprised everyone with how quickly he was able to learn Ben Johnson's offense and also showcase, everything that makes him so special. So this season's all about perfecting the little things for Caleb Williams and making sure that, you don't have to have 7 come from behind wins inside a 2-minute drill. I'm sure you guys remember the blocked field goal in Vegas last year that sort of really was the moment I think that this Bears team believed that they could be better than they were expected to be. So this is going to be a season that's all about Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson in year 2 together. And then they're also dealing with a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball. They went out and they signed Kobe Bryant this offseason, who was really sort of their headline signing, the former Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl champ, to really sort of anchor their secondary. And now all of a sudden he's out arguably potentially for the year. So they're kind of trying to refigure out how that defense is going to look without really bolstering up that defensive line in any really significant way. So it's all about Caleb Williams, and they might have to outscore everybody every single week in order to win some football games.
Chicago TV star Ruthie Polinsky is with us. She's part of the Circa Ultimate Contest weekend, the panel going down with Mike Palm on Saturday. She's a big part of that. One last thing on the Bears, and specifically Caleb Williams. One of the things that drives me nuts about the proliferation of social media is that we kind of treat, well, we don't, but lots of people treat players as if they're TV characters and that they can just smash them. And if you ever actually met Caleb Williams, I'm sure most people would be like, oh, man, I feel really bad that I've been burying this guy because he does seem like a fine, upstanding young man.
Oh, I cover Caleb. Yeah, like I'm in the locker room. I'm around the team pretty often. So he's a great guy, and I think what's been really fun to learn about him is that he came out of college a superstar. Like he won the Heisman. Like he was somebody that was not afraid of the spotlight. And he paints his nails, and he's really into fashion, and he drinks matcha, and he's just got this like very sort of loud personality that he really doesn't shy away from, and he embraces all of the attention. And if anything, I think it elevates his game. In all this primetime games and all the fourth quarter when the lights are the brightest, like that's when Caleb Williams is at his best. And I think what I really have appreciated about Caleb Williams and sort of watching him grow up before our eyes in the last 3 years, obviously his first season with the Bears, his rookie season, wasn't a fun one for him. And then they bring in and they go out and they hire Ben Johnson, and Caleb Williams basically gets broken down to the bare bones of like, what does it mean to play quarterback in the National Football League? And he handled really tough coaching really, really well, and he welcomed it. And I think that's what's been really impressive about him is to kind of watch his maturity. And he's really just kind of always been the same guy. You never really know. He gets off the practice field today after sort of an up and down joint stance against the Tennessee Titans, and there were mixed reports coming out about what that day looked like for the Bears. But you would have never known that, maybe he wasn't happy with some of his performances. He's just always sort of just even-keeled and really just fun to be around, to be honest.
So there is a weird underlying story around the Bears in terms of knocking down the enthusiasm a little bit. Tell me how you feel about the pending or potential move to Indiana.
I was afraid this was coming. This is a big story here in Chicago, and it's really not going anywhere for the time being. I think this stadium saga, as we've sort of coined it, is just beginning, to be honest. The Bears have told the public that they are focusing their efforts on a site in Hammond, Indiana, while they also own a very large piece of land in Arlington Heights in the suburbs of northwest suburbs of Chicago, which makes a lot of sense for them to go build a big, beautiful stadium in the state of Illinois, outside of Chicago. It's funny because the site in Indiana is actually not that far away from where Soldier Field is now. I think it's 20 minutes. And those northwest suburbs of Indiana, I think, are really a suburb of Chicago in so many ways. But I think just the sound of it and thinking about the Bears being located in Indiana is very hard for a lot of Bears fans to wrap their heads around, understandably so. So the Bears are telling everyone that they're focusing their efforts on the site in Indiana because the state of Illinois essentially won't give them tax certainty as they try to advance those plans moving forward. So is it leverage? I mean, if they wanted to go to Indiana they could start yesterday. They haven't. So I think there's still a lot to sort of glean and learn about what this really means. And if they want to go to Indiana, guys, they could, and they're not. So that tells you, I think, a lot.
Circa's Ultimate Contest weekend is coming up. It's going on right now. It goes through Saturday. Ruthie Polinsky is part of the festivity. She's up with ESPN Las Vegas and Cofield and company. So tell the folks here in Vegas, where did you develop your love of football? I mean, I would assume you must have liked it when you went to Michigan. If you didn't, then Michigan probably helped that a certain bit because it's super intense there. How long have you been a football fan? Where did the intensity come about?
Yeah. It's so funny. I grew up in St. Louis, but I was born in Ann Arbor, Michigan. My parents lived there for 7 years, so I was sort of raised on Michigan football, and my parents really have just surrounded me with Michigan football for, as long as I can remember. I was on national TV in the big house on my dad's shoulders when I was 2 years old, and that's a famous story of, just sort of probably when football was ingratiated into my brain. And it's funny, guys, I didn't really grow up a Rams fan. Growing up in St. Louis, baseball was really my thing growing up, obviously in St. Louis during sort of the Cardinals golden era. And I worked for the Cardinals for a period of time. So that's sort of how I got into working into sports, was through the Cardinals. And then my first TV market coming out of college was a very small town in North Texas. And if you don't love football in North Texas, covering basically high school football every Friday night, you're not going to make it in this business as you kind of work your way up through the market sizes. And I just absolutely fell in love with everything that football sort of represents from this tiniest level, from six-man football, in the small towns of Texas, all the way up to the National Football League. So, I've been really lucky in my career. From Texas, I went to Rhode Island, was my second TV market, where I covered the Patriots. And it was Tom Brady's last 3 years, and he took me to 2 Super Bowls. So I'm very grateful for that. While I was, lucky enough to spend some time covering the Patriots and, sort of the end of the Brady era. And then I spent 3 years in Miami and covered kind of a bad team for a little bit. And now I'm in Chicago, and I absolutely love being back in a, really hardcore football city. And it's just, this is a Bears town here. It's just been a blast sort of watching Bears fans sort of wrap their brains around the fact that they might actually have a franchise quarterback and a head coach that could be here for 10, 15, 20 years.
I saw you doing the White Sox pre and post, and with Ozzie Guillen, who I'm sure is a maniac right now. That is one of the coolest stories in all of sports. The White Sox were so bad for so long.
You guys, it's been so much fun, and I think that's another great story. It's the best story in baseball. I think you said it. You hit the nail on the head. The White Sox have just been an absolute blast. It's fun. I work for Chicago Sports Network, so I kind of can fill in on other duties as well. I host a Bears show, and I hosted another show that kind of covers all sports, but I'll pop in on, White Sox pre- and post-game as sort of a fill-in, and I do some sideline reporting for the Bulls, and the White Sox have just been so much fun. We do our studio shows from the ballpark when the White Sox play home games. So I've been in the ballpark, and I've been there, I was putting myself in my same shoes this time last year. And you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, they might be onto something, but it's going to be a while. It's going to be a minute before this team can really make some noise, but they've got some good pieces. Then all of a sudden they go out and they sign Munetaka Murakami, who essentially no one wanted and has been just a game changer for this whole team. And it's honestly, the way we describe it is just they're a bunch of kids that don't know that they're supposed to be bad. Like, no one's telling them, like, hey, guys, you're not supposed to be good yet. And they have just played baseball the right way. They found ways to win. And every time you think that, the season's going to turn south, they find a way to bounce back. And it's just been an absolute joy and pleasure to kind of have a front row seat to this season and what it can mean. And hopefully they can wrap up the division, which is a crazy, crazy, crazy thought, thinking about where they were, just the last couple of years.
So wild. Ruthie, we appreciate a couple minutes. Have a lot of fun when you're here in Vegas, and thanks for coming on with us.
Guys, thanks so much. Hope to see you around Circa. I can't wait.
There you go. Ruthie Polinsky, Chicago TV star. She is going to be part of the Circa Sports Ultimate Contest weekend. Later on tonight, the festivities begin with a meet and greet at Bar Canada. Really good spot downtown on Fremont. Stadium swim party on Friday. Blackjack tournament on Friday. Invitation of fireworks Friday at the Legacy Club. And then on Saturday afternoon, that panelists are up with their football conversation. Amal Shah and Jeff Sherman, who's moved over down to Circa, Ruthie and Mike Palm. And I could have 1,000% ruined Mike's vibe going into this thing on Saturday. Because Mike. He's very much a ball buster. And he was on this morning with JVT and Brandy as they were doing a one-off morning show at Circa. And he started talking about Ruthie. And Ruthie is married to a member of the Bears organization. And he started going through this whole line of getting ready to bust her chops on Saturday. And it was something about, like, I don't even know what he was talking about. what did he compared it to? He started to compare, like, their relationship in some way to drop a joke with Vrabel and Rossini. And I'm like, oh, no. So I almost, at the end of the spot, was like, I'm just going to tell you, you better tell him, don't talk about your marriage. But I'm not going to step on Palm's toes. But when he introed it this morning, I was like, oh, man, what are you doing?
That sounds
so typical.
That sounds about right.
It's so typical. So they've got their contest open Survivor and Circa Millions and Grandissimo. So get on down to Circa. It's a really good way to kind of introduce yourself to the property, to the contest. There's 25 to 30 different podcasts and radio shows on Radio Row. Tomorrow, Lotus will be down there with R&R 920's morning show from 7 to 10 a.m., and then Q Myers will be there from 2 to 5 in the afternoon.
Yeah, I stopped by actually earlier today. I was on with our Jets guy, Jake Asman, his show. It was already, again, it was early in the day. It's a good setup. That's always a fun weekend, and I will say, anytime you get to listen to Amal Shah, you gotta take advantage of it.
It's in the Galaxy Ballroom, which is upstairs,
yep.
And fans and the public, you are welcome to walk around Radio Row.
Oh, yeah.
So you can watch the shows. Yeah. You can meet people. So there can be a lot of gambling types there. So, if you're into that, there's different radio shows from Chicago and Portland and Houston. And I have to look at all the markets. San Diego, I think.
Cofield and Company fans. Our friend Arash Markazi was down there today.
Oh, right. That's right. I forgot.
Yeah.
I broke bread with Arash. Well, I didn't break bread. I broke some beers. I was down at the Mega Bar last night talking with Arash and his SO. And Arash is all set up down there with the Tribune. So some of the developing news here over the last 90 minutes, because Dan Mullen Radio Show was on from 4 to 5. That'll be the case every Thursday moving forward. We should start with the latest, and I know this is driving people nuts, the legal machinations of college sports. I love it. And I'll admit, folks,
you're one of a few.
I try not to do it every day because I know it can be maddening. It's funny. When I was driving down here, one of the shows or channels I like to listen to because I'm a college football junkie and I'm like all amped up for UNLV and week 0. So I'm listening in the afternoon to SiriusXM College, and they were talking a lot about Lane Kiffin. And yesterday I basically announced Lane Kiffin's my spirit animal. I love what's going on. I don't like Kim Mulkey, but I like that she's in it. Will Wade seems like kind of a dirtbag, but who cares?
Kim Mulkey's trying to broker world peace, Cofield.
That is one of the best stories ever. That she lost a Ukrainian player on her roster, and she's like, let me go to Team Russia and get a 17-year-old center. And she actually said, hey, worldwide conflict is not going to get in the way of me winning basketball games. All right, lady. Okay. They really are the ultimate villains. But college football, like, needs to be reorganized, so I'm enjoying the fight. I think LSU is going to go at Greg Sankey. Like, they've already said it. They've got judges down there. You're already hearing, like, hey, Greg Sankey is violating state law. I mean, this is the fight I'm looking for.
Well, and not
Please.
only that, Cofield. And there was an article in USA Today. I forget who wrote the column. I think it was Matt Hayes. I'll have to double check that during the break. Of the articles along the lines is LSU is begging to get kicked out of the SEC, which, again, a little bit nuts.
Do you really think that's what they're doing? Or they're trying to force change?
No, I think they are doing well. Look at their coaches. Look at their big three coaches.
Mm-hmm.
They're agitators.
Yeah,
the three of them are agitators. Lane has always been an agitator. Wade legitimately got fired from there for being an agitator, and Mulkey's the biggest agitator in women's college basketball. So it's just the perfect group of agitators in every way possible in the meaning of that word.
Well, the funny thing is the team that Wade put together has what you would call not violations, but questionable things from all different areas. In this whole
100%.
So, like he could lose every player.
He could be down to two people.
I mean, it's craziness. What Mulkey did, I think, is amazing. What Kiffin is doing is, when you really think about it, it's sort of inconsequential. I don't think most of the players are going to try to bring in from the NFL are really going to play until the second half anyway, and I don't even know if they can break as good as they are. Like, I don't know if they're going to get significant time beyond like 30 snaps with the ones. Like, there's going to be a process here. They're not going to walk right in.
But it's also, again, it's Kiffin. Anything he does
right
garners attention.
But that's the whole point. Is I think they're doing it on purpose because they wanted to pick a fight. And then yesterday, Texas Tech. Joey McGuire's talking about, he's a head coach there, and they're already in, with the Big 12. They're like, F you, Big 12. So they want to fight. They just got Tommy Castellanos, who was at Florida State and BC. Now, again, he's another guy. I have no idea if he can play until the second half.
I don't think. I'm not sure he's better than Hammond anyway.
I think he's insurance. I think he's an insurance policy.
He's the insurance policy if Hammond's not ready to go.
So then yesterday and this morning, there were two of the cases, because the NCAA is just going to keep challenging and just keep losing in the end, right? They can find judges on the federal level who will grant an injunction to stop things or a temporary restraining order. But then today, news came down like 2 hours ago, a Dallas judge just restored eligibility for 24 college athletes, including NFL players. If you hate this, hate the NCAA, hate the conferences, because they continue to do the same thing they've always done, which is we're going to make rules and not include the kids. And that sends you to court. Now, locally, I actually like that the RJ, of course, they're trying to get hits. And so the RJ put out a thing today about, hey, one challenge is now AJ Store for UNLV is ineligible for now. And that's the key thing. Because it appears you can find at the local level a judge who will look at it and go, yeah, this is not right. So I don't know what's going to happen to AJ Store. I'm guessing UNLV didn't go in this with blinders on.
Sure.
And just got blindsided now, and they're like, oh, we got screwed. Like, these fights are going to continue, and I think they're very important fights. We don't have to get into all the reasons why. But that's why I back it.
So just so you know, the Mountain West, while we were talking to Ruthie, came out with with a statement on football eligibility.
I don't want to hear this. If they fell in line with the other conferences,
they did.
Scumbags.
They did.
Sorry, Gloria, but you're not right on this.
They did not fall in line on basketball. They followed the Big Ten on not doing it basketball wise. This is just a football thing. Now, granted, realistically speaking, how many football and the people that could be impacted by this for the professional athletes coming back? How many of them are realistically coming to play for a Mountain West school anyway?
I mean, in the case of LaTerrence Welch, he suited up for arena football.
Yeah, but
so there could be guys like that.
Yeah,
I don't like this. We kind of laid it down yesterday with Justin Watkins, and I also said the same thing on Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network. I actually think the Group of Six, knowing what's coming, that we as a city, a Group of Six city, we're going to get screwed. So why not take the position of hey, we're the good guys. We'll take the pros. You can do whatever you want. And then let's fight on that legally, because the Power Four will not win. Folks, don't get all caught up in the imagery and the talking heads around college football. Like this is somehow evil. These are, in most cases, 21 to 24-year-olds. They're either not going to make the pros or not ready for the pros. They're trying to come back to school. There's money there. I don't understand why we become all anti-kid, but maybe you're on the side of, like, we can't let them back. Like, what does it matter? What does it matter if a kid still has eligibility? Let him play college football. Let him go to class. Let him get an education. Let her do it. It's just a stupid fight. And then they're going to, turn to mom and dad and then down the family tree, the federal judges. It's so dumb. And here's the thing. I can separate it. I think a lot of people are all getting, worked up. By the way, my Sirius XM story was I'm driving, listening to, I think it was Matt Schick, and now I'm blanking on the co-host. I'll remember in a second. But a lady, Kathy, called up, and she was actually a very good caller. She went crazy. I don't like Lane Kiffin. These kids are spoiled. They don't deserve this. And the one thing they never asked was, you love college football. Who do you root for? And I guarantee I would have had a laundry list of material for whatever school she roots for that over either recently they've done things that would upset people, or they could be, my guess is she probably roots for one of the traditional cheaters of the past, who are now joined by legal cheating by dozens of schools. Those are the people who are most upset.
Well,
we used to have this advantage. We could turn a blind eye. We knew what we were doing. We knew we were paying the players. Now everyone can pay the players. Now we don't have an advantage. This sucks. No, you suck. And actually, I tweeted at both hosts, and I just tweeted at them. I was like, hashtag screw Kathy. No one on, if they look at my Twitter timeline, they're gonna have no idea what that means. But I was like, screw Kathy. I'm not nice, man. I was thinking, because they were both really nice. Both of the hosts were really nice, and I'm like, man or woman, you call in, I'm sorry. Hell out of here. It's a fight for freedom, everybody. Oh, man, we're going to. And, the other thing we established yesterday is I really do, and I know UNLV is not in the position it used to be in, but I really believe UNLV actually should be a school that stands up and goes, no, we're not going to be bullied. You bullied Tark. You're not going to bully us. We're giving the kids a chance to come back to school, get more education, and play college football. Screw off. Why would we, in a group of 6 city, align with... We got to take a break. I got to stop. Okay, we'll come back. We'll wrap it up. We're at Sierra Gold. Come on down here. Happy hour is awesome. $6 burger up until 7 o'clock. It's 5 to 7 with the happy hour, and beer start as low as $3.
Cofield and Company presents Grab Bag on ESPN Las Vegas.
Stick your hand in there, dude.
All right, enough of the legal stuff. I go on and on. I am insufferable, I'll admit it. News in from New Mexico. I don't think this is a backbreaker, so I would not run to conclusions on New Mexico football, but their quarterback who had elbow surgery, he's going to be out for the season, Jack Lane.
Yep.
He was one of the guys instrumental in beating UNLV last year, but Jason Eck's not stupid. He went out and got a transfer from Oregon. They fought for extra eligibility for Laubstein, who destroyed the Rebels for like 99 yards on the ground. Listen, I'm not saying it doesn't hurt them, but I would not sell that dude short.
He's a great coach. So you never doubt great coaching in college football, and especially in the league. Again, they're one of the, to me, even with the injury, they're still one of the 3 teams I really give a good shot to win the league. But you know what? Maybe it opens the door for a North Dakota State that I don't fully believe in. But you apparently are going to tell everyone why you believe in them tomorrow.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, I mean, I think the dream could exist. I think it could happen for North Dakota State, but we'll see. Now, the flip side of that is I actually hope they get their asses kicked this weekend as a wake-up call, because their fans are very cocky, like, oh, we're going to win 10 or 11 games. Like, relax. But I may find out, like, it wasn't a relaxed situation. They may kill it this year.
We'll see. We'll see.
James, thanks for setting up the show. Appreciate it. Mateo down here. Thanks to Sierra Gold for hosting the show. Again, great happy hour. And the Dan Mullen Radio Show is going to be every Thursday, 4 o'clock. So start coming on down here. Watch the show. Take advantage of the specials and be part of UNLV football. Games coming up on Saturday. Grab your tickets. UNLVtickets.com for Memphis and UNLV. We'll see you.